Good afternoon students, this is Reema, your biology educator from V-Learning, and V-Learning is an online educational platform where we strive to provide quality education for all. So to get all the benefits from our channel, do subscribe to it if you have not subscribed, and like, share it with your friends so that someone will get benefit out of it. And don't forget to visit to our website, that is www.v-learning.in, where you will be getting all the pre-recorded videos, the live classes, animated videos, and the PDF notes of all the topics which are being covered. So I hope you all are doing good. So without any delay, let's begin today's session. So you remember in our last class we have started with your chapter number 6, right? So in the previous class we have learned about your meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue, right? So where you have seen that meristematic tissues are the actively dividing tissues, right? So they are the most active cells, whereas the permanent tissues are the tissues they lack the division after a certain period of time, right? So they are what they do not that is they do not divide, okay? They are non-dividing cells, we can say. And also you have learned that under the meristematic tissue it can be classified into 3 meristem, that is your apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem, right? And under this permanent tissue we have learned about your simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. So we have learned in detail about the simple permanent tissue. So in today's class we will be covering this complex tissues or complex permanent tissue and the tissue system in the plants, and this is your lecture number 2. So what you have learned in the simple permanent tissue, we have seen that in the simple permanent tissue there are 3 types of simple permanent tissue, right? So can you name the 3 types? What are the 3 types of simple permanent tissue? Yes, we have learned about parenchyma, then collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, right? So in today's class we'll be learning in detail about your xylem and phloem, which is coming under the complex permanent tissues. So let's begin today's session. So see, what are your complex tissues? So as you have already studied that complex tissues are the tissues which are having more than one type of cells. So as you have seen that in the simple permanent tissue they have only one type of cells, right? They have only one type of cells, whereas in the complex tissue they will be having more than one type of cells. So they are having what? They are having more than one type of cells. They are made up of more than one type of cells, and this work together as a unit. And next is xylem and phloem, which you have been studying from your lower classes, right? Xylem and phloem. So these two constitute the complex tissues in the plants. Now you all know that what is the function of xylem? Xylem is responsible for what? Transportation of water, right? Transportation of water from the roots, right? So from where the water is being transferred, that is from the roots. It helps in the absorption, that is it helps in the transportation of water and minerals from the roots to all the parts of the plants. And what about this phloem? It is responsible for transportation of food, so which you have been already studying from your lower classes. So today in this chapter you will be learning in detail about this xylem and phloem. You will see that inside the xylem also they are made up of various types of elements and how they are responsible for the transportation of this food and water. So let's see what is this xylem. So xylem, as you know, that the function is conducting tissue. It is functions as a conducting tissue for water and minerals from roots to the stems and the leaves. So this is very simple, and it also provides what? It also provides you mechanical, that is it also provides the plant support, okay? It provides the plant mechanical support or the strength to the various parts of the plant. So it is composed of 4 different kinds of elements. So in the xylem is further consisting of 4 different kinds or types of elements. So what are the 4 different elements present in xylem? So the 4 elements which are present in xylem are your number 1 is trachet, right? So trachet, then next is your vessel, then third one is your Xylem Parenchyma, and fourth one is your Xylem Fiber. So these are the 4 elements which are present in the xylem, and these elements has got again different functions. So it is composed of 4 different elements which you have already seen, and gymnosperms like the vessels in the xylem. So as you know that the plants can be categorized again, that is we have seen the various divisions of the plants, right? That is algae, bryophytes, tetraidophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, right? So there are different plants and they are grouped into different categories. So in case of this gymnosperms, what is this gymnosperms? Gymnosperms means these are what? Their seeds are not covered, right? In case of your pine trees, okay? So their seeds are naked, whereas in case of this angiosperms, the seeds are covered, right? So they are the flowering plants. So see, gymnosperms, they do not have this, that is they lack vessel in their xylem. So what is absent in case of your gymnosperm? That is vessel is absent. So this can be your MCQ question here, okay? So what is absent in the gymnosperm? That is vessel, okay? This vessel is absent in the gymnosperms. Next. So the structural elements of the xylem. So as I have said that there are 4 elements. So as you can see the picture of the various structural elements. So this is a trachet. So see how this is, it is thin. It is not that much narrow. So as you see this trachet, its structure will be like this. That is, it has got tapering ends, right? And you can see here the various peats, right? So these are the various peats, and this is a tapering end, right? This is a narrow end. So you see this trachet, what it does, it helps in the transportation of water. It provides support to the xylem to transport the water. And next one, you can see the vessel. How is the shape of the vessel? The vessel is like this, right? It is cylindrical. So you can see this shape is cylindrical, right? So it is cylindrical. It is cylindrical in structure, and it also has got the peats, okay? What are the peats? What are these peats? These peats are the narrow holes which are present, which helps in the transportation of the nutrition, okay? And as you can see, this is the Xylem Parenchyma, okay? So it is consisting of your nucleus and cytoplasm. So this Xylem Parenchyma has got large number of nucleus and cytoplasm. So what is this area? This area is the cytoplasm, where other cell organelles lies, and nucleus, it contains what? It contains the genetic materials like DNA. Is that clear? And another one is your xylem fiber. These xylem fibers are like this, and they are what? They are basically dead. They are made up of dead cells, and they provide what? They provide support, okay? They have got thick cell walls. Their cell walls are thick cell wall, which provide support to the plant. So see here, they will be having this thick cell wall. The xylem fibers, they have thick cell wall, and that is lignified cell wall. They have got lignified cell wall that is filled with lignin, okay? And this is the, see, this is filled with lignified cell wall. They have got lignified and thick cell wall. So next, let us see what is this trachea. How can you define this trachea? These tracheates are nothing but the elongated or tube-like cells with thick and lignified walls and tapering ends. So how is the structure of this tracheates? It's like this, right? And it has got pits here. So it is also having what? It is also having your thick and lignified wall. So the cell wall is your thick here. The cell wall is thick and lignified cell wall. And these ends are known as your tapering ends. These ends are known as your tapering ends. So this is how you track it. So they are dead and they are without protoplasm. Okay. So they are also dead cells. So they are also what? Dead cells. So because of which they have got thick cell wall and they are without protoplasm. So protoplasm is a jelly-like substance where the other cell organelles, cytoplasm and the nucleus are present, right? So they do not have this protoplasm. So protoplasm is basically present near this area, okay? So this area is for protoplasm. So they are lacking protoplasm. So they lack protoplasm. Clear? So this is how the trachea. So they are also having dead cells and thick cell wall, not thin cell wall. And the inner layers of the cell walls have thickenings which vary in form. So the inner layers, as I have said, that they are very, very thick, and the thickenings of these inner layers that vary from plant to plant or the tracheids to tracheids. So in flowering plants, tracheids and vessels are the main water transporting elements. So what are the two main water transporting elements? The main two water transporting elements are your trachea and vessel. Okay, these are the two main water transporting elements. So next, let us see about what is this vessel. The vessel, how is the structure? It is cylindrical, right? And what about this trachea? It is elongated in shape, isn't it? So vessels are long cylindrical tube-like structures. So if I draw it like this, it will be long cylindrical tube-like structure, right? And it is having here so many pits, isn't it? So they are long cylindrical structure. They are cylindrical tube-like structure made up of many cells called vessel membranes, each with lignified walls and large central cavity. So they have got a large central cavity. So you can see this area which is very large, and it's the central cavity. The vessel cells are also devoid of protoplasm. They also lack the protoplasm. That means here, that is where the protoplasm is present, they are also lacking your protoplasm. They also lack the protoplasm. So they are also lacking the protoplasm, and they have a large cavity here. So yes, vessel membranes are interconnected through perforations in the common walls, and the presence of vessel is characteristic feature of your angiosperms, right? What are these angiosperms? Angiosperms are your, that is flowering plants, right? So the presence of what? The presence of your vessel is the characteristic feature. In all the angiospermic plants, there will be presence of your vessel. Vessel will be present. Otherwise, how the plant will be transporting the water and the nutrition, right? So these tracheids and vessels are very, very, very essential for the plant to transport the water and the minerals. Next, let us see what is this xylem fiber. As you know that this xylem fiber is also dead, right? They are also dead cells. So they are also very thick, and they also have got dead cell. Okay, they are also dead cell, and they have got thick cell walls. They also have got thick cell wall. All right, so yes, and obliterated central lumen. Okay, so if I draw here like this, if this is the This is the xylem fiber. Okay, this area is your lumen. Okay, this area is the lumen, and it is very thick near the cord. That is, the walls are very thick. They have got a lignified cell wall. Okay, this is the thickest, or they have the thick cell wall, or thick and lignified, and they may be either septate or aseptate. Okay, septate means they are separated. Okay, and septate means they are separated. Aseptate means they are not separated with the walls. So next is your Xylem Parenchyma. So what is this Xylem Parenchyma? They are living and thin wall. They will be present basically in the leaves, okay, in the fruits. Okay, they are parenchyma means we have seen that parenchyma cannot provide your support. Why they cannot provide support? Because they have got thin cell wall. Okay, all the rest which we have seen that they have got dead cells and thick cell wall. All right, but this parenchyma, they have got thin cell wall. Because of this thin cell wall, they cannot provide support. They are only responsible for your storage, right? Then secretion, and what? Another one is your photosynthesis. So the function of this parenchyma is all the three things. They cannot provide support. Why they cannot provide? Because they have got this thin cell wall. Clear? And their cell walls are made up of cellulose, which we have seen in the last class when we were learning about parenchyma, right? Their cell walls are made up of your cellulose. They store food materials in the form of starch. So how the plants store food material? You know, the plants, they prepare the food. Where they prepare the food? In the leaves, right? So the plants, they prepare the food in the leaves. So this food is being transported to all the parts of the plants, right, through the phloem. So how it is transported? In the form of your glucose. Clear? So this food needs to be transported. So it is transported and it is in the form of glucose. And the stored food of the plant is called as your starch. So starch is what? It is the stored food of the plant. So, and other substances like tannins. So the stored food materials is what? It is your starch. And where it is stored? It is stored in the Xylem Parenchyma. The radial conduction of water takes place by the ray parenchymatous cells. So it is also helping in the conduction of your water. So they are basically exposed to the sunlight. They will be present in the leaves because they are very much essential for your photosynthesis, this Xylem Parenchyma, and also they help in conduction of water. Next, let us move to this xylem. It is again classified into two types. Okay, so this xylem again we can classify into two types. So one is your primary xylem and another is your secondary xylem. So what is this primary xylem and what is this secondary xylem? You have learned about this meristematic tissue, and where we have seen that there are primary meristematic tissue and the secondary meristematic tissue, right? So we have seen that the primary meristematic tissues are the tissues which are already present, right? They are present already. And what are the secondary? That means they are formed later. Okay, the meristematic tissues which are formed later, we call them as secondary meristem. So what is this primary xylem? The first form primary xylem elements are called as your protoxylem. So the first form primary xylem is called as your, that is your protoxylem. So the xylem, it can be further, that is your primary xylem, it can be further divided into your two types. Sorry, here it will be your primary xylem. So yes, this is your primary xylem So the xylem can further divide it into two types. One is your primary xylem and secondary xylem. So the primary xylem can be divided into two types. Again, that is what? That is your protoxylem, and your what? The later form is your metaxylem. So what is this protoxylem? Protoxylem is the first form xylem. That is the first form xylem that is already which is present in the xylem. That we called as your first form xylem. And metaxylem is which has developed later on. Okay. So and the later form primary xylem is called as your metaxylem. So it is formed first, right, and it is developed later on. So this primary xylem, again it is further classified. Next, let us see the next topic. Okay, so in stems the protoxylem lies towards the center and the metaxylem lies towards the periphery. So when we look into the stem and the roots, when we dissect and look into the microscope, okay, you can see that in case of your stem, the protoxylem where it will lie towards the center and the metaxylem will lie towards the periphery. Now what do you mean by this term periphery? Periphery means the outer layer, okay, that is outside, okay. So if I draw here, if in case of the stem where the protoxylem lies, so if this is the stem, all right, so this is what? This is your metaxylem, right? So metaxylem where it lies, this is your protoxylem, right? So protoxylem where it lies? It lies in the center, that is the pith. So this is your protoxylem, and this one, that is the end or the corner towards the end, that is your periphery. What it lies? That is your metaxylem, right? So metaxylem lies towards the periphery in case of your stem. Now what about this roots? In case of roots, the protoxylem lies towards the periphery and the metaxylem also lies towards the center. So such arrangement in case of this stem, it is called as your underge. So it is similar, okay. In case of stem also, the protoxylem is lying in the center, right? The protoxylem is lying in the center and the metaxylem is lying in the periphery. It is called as your underge, okay. It is called as underge. And in case of this roots, the protoxylem will lie towards the periphery. That means the protoxylem, it will be at the outside, okay. So if I draw here in case of your roots, so if this is the root, okay, so in case of this, what happens? The protoxylem, where it lies, the protoxylem lies towards the periphery. So this will be your protoxylem, okay. It is lying outside, and in the center what it is? It is your metaxylem. And this is known as what? This arrangement is known as your what? Exarch, okay. This arrangement is known as your exarch. Clear? So what is the definition of underge and exarch? So it is very, very simple. Just remember this diagram. The metaxylem, it will be lying in the periphery in case of stem, and the protoxylem, it will be lying in the center, and this arrangement is called as your underge. Alright, it is seen in case of your stem in the xylem, okay. And in case of your roots, how it is? In case of the roots, the protoxylem will be lying in the periphery and the metaxylem will be in the center. As you can see, the metaxylem in the center, and this arrangement is known as your exarch. Is that clear? So this is the definition of your underge and exarch. Next, so far we have learned about what we have learned about your xylem, and we have seen that how the xylem functions, what are the various elements of your xylem, and how the stem and the roots they are arranged. That is your that is metaxylem and protoxylem, how it is arranged in the stem and the roots. Right? So next one, that is next type of complex permanent tissue is your phloem. So what is this phloem? As you know that it is responsible for your transportation of food materials, usually from the leaves to other parts of the plants. So in case of your xylem, the transportation is what? Transportation is unidirectional. Whereas in case of this phloem, it is transporting the leaves it is transporting the food from the leaves to different parts of the plants, right? So the transportation is what? Transportation is bidirectional. So it can transport towards the roots. It can also transport to the stem, right? Root. Alright, so the transportation is your bidirectional. So phloem angiosperm is composed of seivetube elements. Again, in case of your phloem, there are 4 elements. As you have seen that in case of xylem, they are made up of 4 structural elements, right? So similarly, they are also made up of your 4 structural elements. They also have 4 structural elements. So what are the 4 structural elements? The first one is your seivetube, the second one is your companion cell, and the third one is your Phloem Parenchyma, and the fourth one is your Phloem Fibers. So these two are similar, right? These two are similar. You just need to remember these two names. That is your seivetube elements and the companion cells. And these are same like your xylem elements, right? So in case of your gymnosperms, they have got this albuminous cells and sieve cells. They lack the sieve tubes and the companion cells. So this can also be your MCQ question, like in case of xylem, what is lacking, what is not present? So what is not present? That is your sieve tube and the companion cells are absent in case of your gymnosperms. Now, what is this albuminous cells? These albuminous cells are your specialized parenchyma cells, okay? They are also one type of your parenchyma cells that helps in the storage and the preparation of your food in case of your gymnosperms. So next, yes. Here you can see clearly the 4 different elements of your phloem, that is your sieve tube, companion cells, then Phloem Parenchyma and the Phloem Fibers, right? So let us learn one by one. So these sieve tubes, they do not have their own nucleus. They share the nucleus with the companion cells. So the sieve tube elements are also long tube-like structures arranged longitudinally and are associated with the companion cells. Now what do you understand by this? How they are? They are long, isn't it? They are long tube-like structure. So I can draw it like this way. So they are long. So I can draw it in this way. Is that clear? So they are connected together with the help of your plasmodesmata. So what is this plasmodesmata? The plasmodesmata is a junction between cell to cell. They helps in the connection of one cell with the another. So this is a sieve tube, okay? This is your sieve tube, which is a long tube-like structure, and in between that, what is present in between them? There is companion cells. So again here one sieve tube. Is that clear? So again one here sieve tube, right? And also you see what? You see this Phloem Fibers also should be present, right? So Phloem Fibers, it might be present here somewhere, Phloem Fibers, right? So again here you will see the Phloem Parenchyma. So here the Phloem Parenchyma, which will be having your nucleus and cytoplasm. These are your nucleus, okay? And this area is your cytoplasm. cytoplasm. This is your nucleus. So see, this is your sieve tube, right? And what is this? This is your sieve plates, okay? This is your sieve plates. Okay, and this is what? This is your companion cell. Companion cell also has got the nucleus. They also have their nucleus. This sieve tube, this one is your sieve tube, which is lacking the nucleus. This sieve tube, they do not have their nucleus. So they need to share the nucleus with the companion cells. So this large cells which you can see here, these cells are your companion cells. Alright. So this sieve tube, what happens? They do not have nucleus. They lack nucleus. So they need to share nucleus with whom? Who is sharing the nucleus? That is your companion cells. So they share the nucleus with the companion cells. And this is your sieve plate. So through the sieve plate, they helps in communication between the various cells, and they are connected. How these cells are connected to one another? They are connected with the help of your plasmodesmata. So they are connected with the help of your plasmodesmata. So what is this plasmodesmata? This is nothing. Already I have said that this helps in the connection of cell to cell. They connects the cell, one cell to another cell. Okay, so plasmodesmata is basically a junction for connecting. So as you can see, now you can understand the definition. So companion cell, it is associated in between your sieve tube. So their end walls are perforated in a sieve-like manner to form the sieve plates. So see here, you can see the various pores, right? That is, they are perforated. For what it is? It is for transportation of various minerals, okay? Transportation, for communication, for getting the food and nutrition, okay? So for transportation, they have got various what? They have got sieve plates in the sieve tube. So next, let us see that a mature sieve element possesses a peripheral cytoplasm and a large vacuole but lacks a nucleus. So this sieve tube, as you have seen that they look like this structure. Alright, they are like this. They have got what? They have got this sieve plates, okay, but they lack what? They lack the nucleus, and they possess a peripheral cytoplasm and a large vacuole. So here somewhere the cytoplasm will be here. This area we call it as the cytoplasm, right? This portion is your cytoplasm, and they have got a large vacuole. They have large vacuole. Is that clear? So they have got a cytoplasm and also they have large vacuole, but what they do not have? They do not have your nucleus. They lack the nucleus. The function of your sieve tubes are controlled by the nucleus of companion cells. Already I have said that they share the nucleus with your companion cells. So companion cells, they share the nucleus with the sieve tube. Yes. Now let us learn about this companion cells. What are these companion cells? They are your specialized parenchymatous cells which are closely associated with the sieve tubes. So they are your parenchymatous cells. So when we talk about parenchyma, which type of cell wall they will have? They will have this thin cell wall. Alright. and they are responsible for storage. And this companion cells and the sieve plate and the phloem parenchyma, all they are your living cells. So this is also your living cell. They are not dead cell. And even the sieve plate and the phloem parenchyma, they are also your living cell. So they have got thin cell wall. So they cannot provide support. They are only responsible for storage. Okay. So the sieve plate elements and companion cells are connected by the pit fills present between their common longitudinal walls, and the companion cells help in maintaining pressure gradient in the sieve tubes. So see how they are connected. So they are connected with the help of your pit fills. So here they are connected. Okay, this companion cells and the sieve tubes are connected with the help of your pit fills. And what is the function of your companion cells? These companion cells are responsible for maintaining or helping in pressure gradient. Now what do you mean by this pressure gradient? Now when the transportation of glucose takes place from the leaves to different parts of the plants, there will be pressure generated, right? So it helps in maintaining proper pressure, okay, in the process of transportation. Yes. So next, let us learn about the phloem parenchyma. They are also living cells. Alright, they are also living cells. And they are made up of what? They are made up of elongated, tapering, cylindrical cells which have dense cytoplasm and nucleus. So how will be the structure of them? They will be something like this, okay? So they have got tapering, and so I can do it like this. They have got tapering ends, and they have got what? They have got cytoplasm, they have got nucleus, and how is the shape? They are cylindrical in shape, right? So they are cylindrical, and they have got a tapering ends, and they are elongated, and they have got dense cytoplasm. So this area, full area, this area is called as your cytoplasm, where the nucleus and all other cell organelles lies. This area we call it as cytoplasm. It is basically a matrix, okay? It provides support to the plant. The cell wall is composed of cellulose and has peats through which plasmodesmata connections exist between the cells. So their cell wall is composed of peats, okay? So this cell wall, somewhere it has got peats, okay? So through which, with the help of your plasmodesmata, the cells can connect to one another. So it has got peats, and with the help of your plasmodesmata, it helps in the connection of one cell to the another. So as you know that plasmodesmata, it helps in joining the cells, okay? Next, let us see the phloem parenchyma. As you know that parenchyma will always store the food, okay? So they are storing the food materials and other substances like your resins, latex and mucilage, okay? These are the three items which are being stored. What are the three items? Resins, latex and mucilage. So phloem parenchyma is absent in most of the monocotyledonous plants. So where it is absent? It is absent in most of the monocotyledonous plants. It is present in dicotyledonous plants. Next, let us move into the phloem fibers. So what are these phloem fibers? So what are these phloem fibers? These phloem fibers are what? They are your responsible for providing support, and they have got the dead cells, okay? So they have got thick cell wall and they have dead cells, so they can provide support. So they are made up of which type of cells? sclerochimetous cells. As you know that sclerochimetous cells are always dead cells. They are not living cells and they have got thick cell wall. So they are generally absent in the primary phloem. Yes, but are found in the secondary phloem. Now, as you have seen that xylem can be divided into two types. One is your primary xylem and secondary xylem. Similarly, this phloem also can be divided into two types. One is your primary xylem and the secondary xylem. So, what is this primary xylem? Primary xylem means these are the xylem which are, primary phloem means these are the phloem which are already present. Alright, and the secondary means they are developed later on. Clear? So primary means they are present from the beginning, that is first, and secondary means they are developed later on. So see, so they are generally absent in case of your primary phloem, that is sclerochimetous cells. So next, they are much elongated, unbranched and have pointed needle-like apis. Okay, so how they are, the shape is elongated, right? So it will be like this. They have got pointed end, right, which is known as what? Needle-like apis. So see, so they have got thick cell wall. So this is your phloem fiber. So this is all about the various elements of the phloem, and the cell wall of the phloem fiber, yes, it is always thick. Okay, fibers means they will be having always thick cell wall. They will always have thick cell wall because they need to provide support to the growing plant. If they have thin cell wall, they cannot provide support. At maturity, these fibers lose their protoplasm and become dead. And the phloem fibers of jute, flax and hemp are used commercially. So these phloem fibers, okay, they are used for preparation of various products, okay, jute and then flax, and which are sold in the market. So this is all about it. And the first from primary xylem consists of narrow sieve tubes and referred to as phloem. So the first from formed primary xylem, it has got narrow sieve tubes, okay, and it is called as your phloem. And the later formed phloem has bigger sieve tube and it is referred to as phloem. So if I draw the sieve tubes, so how will be the sieve tubes? It will be having narrow sieve tubes, right? So the first formed primary xylem have got narrow sieve tube. So see, it has got narrow sieve tube. What we call that? Which is having narrow sieve tube? We call it as phloem. So this is what? This is your phloem. And the later form, that is the second phloem, okay, the later form or the secondary phloem has got bigger sieve tube. What we call it? It is called as phloem. So if it is having bigger sieve tube, how it will look? So you can draw here, okay, so see, it will be having bigger sieve tube. So let me draw it little bit large, right? So it has got bigger sieve tube, right? It has bigger sieve tube and we call it as what? We call it as phloem. Phloem means bigger sieve tube. Phloem means bigger sieve tube, and phloem means what? Narrow sieve tube. Is that clear? So it can again be classified based on your sieve tube. So based on the sieve tube, the phloem is again classified into two types. What are they? One is your phloem and the next one is a phloem. Next, the tissue system. So till now we have learned about your complex permanent tissue. We have learned all about the xylem and the phloem. Is that clear? So next topic is your tissue system in plants. So in case of plants, the tissue system is responsible for that is transportation and protection, right? So they are classified into three types. Okay, so one is your epidermal tissue system, second is your ground tissue system, and the third is your vascular tissue system. So let us learn about the tissue system. On the basis of the structure and location, there are three types of tissue system. These are your epidermal tissue system. Now epidermal, what do you mean by this epidermis? Epidermis means the outermost layer of any part of the plant. So if it is a leaf or it is a flower, the outermost covering, okay, the outermost part is your epidermis or the epidermis. Epidermis. For example, in case of our skin, right? So the outermost layer of our skin is your epidermal layer, right? Where we have got this epidermal tissue. So similarly, in case of your plants, any part of the plant like your leaves, flowers, fruits, any outermost part of the plant is called as your epidermis. Epidermis means the outermost layer which provides protection. Next is your ground or fundamental tissue system, and the third one is your vascular tissue system. So let us learn today about this two tissue system. We will be covering this epidermal tissue system and the ground tissue system. So as I have said that the epidermal tissue system forms the outermost covering of the whole plant body and comprises of epidermal cells, stomata, and the epidermal appendages, the trichomes and the hairs. So you already know they are present in the outermost layer. So what are these trichomes? These trichomes are your thin hair like structure. Okay, these trichomes are your thin hair like structures, and the epidermis is the outermost layer of the primary plant body. It is made up of elongated, compactly arranged cells which forms a continuous layer. So as you can see here, this is the picture of your stomata. So we will be learning in detail about the stomata also. So next, the epidermis is usually single layer. They do not have double layer. They will be having single layer only. And the epidermal cells are parenchymatous with a small amount of cytoplasm lining in the cell wall and a large vacuole. So this epidermal cells, how they are, this is your epidermal cell, the outside is your epidermal cell, right? Epidermis. So they have got a large cytoplasm and a vacuole. This is your vacuole. Okay, and they have got cytoplasm, a large vacuole, and the outside of the epidermis is often covered with a waxy thick layer called the cuticle. Okay, so cuticle is responsible for providing support which prevents the loss of water also. So the outer layer is covered with your cuticle and it is absent in case of your roots. So in the roots the cuticle is absent. Next, let us learn about stomata. So stomata, where you will be finding? You will find it in the leaves, right? So they are what? They are the tiny pores which are present in the leaves, isn't it? So the stomata are structures present in the epidermis of the leaves. Alright. So the stomata regulate the process of transpiration and gaseous exchange. So this is the function. The two function is, one is your gaseous exchange and another is your loss, that is transpiration, loss of water, that is regulating the process of transpiration. And each stoma is composed of two bean-shaped cells known as Gerd cells which enclose stomatal pore. So each stomata is, which we have already learned, they have got what? They have got Gerd cells, right? They have Gerd cells, and these Gerd cells are responsible for opening and closing of stomata. In grasses, the Gerd cells are dumbbell shaped. Okay, they are in the form of dumbbell shaped, and the outer walls of the Gerd cells, that is, they are thin, and the inner walls are highly thickened. So in case of this stomata, the outer walls are thin. So if this is the inner wall, the inner walls of the stomata in Gerd cells, they are thick. So they are thick, okay, and the outer walls, they are thin. So in case of stomata, they have got two cell walls. One is your thicker, that is inner cell wall, and another is your outer cell wall. So the inner cell wall is your having thick, okay. So they have inner layer have got thick cell wall, and the outer one has got the thin cell wall. So next, let us learn about Gerd cells. So in the Gerd cells, what is present? It is present, that is chloroplast. And what is the main function of this Gerd cells? That is your opening and closing of stomata. So sometimes few epidermal cells in the vicinity of the Gerd cells become specialized in the shape and size and known as your subsidiary cells, okay. So sometimes few epidermal cells, they try to behave like the Gerd cells, okay, and they are known as what? They are known as your subsidiary cells. So the stomatal aperture, Gerd cells and surrounding subsidiary cells are together called as your stomatal apparatus. So all the things, that is the Gerd cells and the stomatal aperture and the surrounding subsidiary cells, together they are known as what? They are known as your stomatal apparatus. And the cells of your epidermis bear a number of hairs, and these root hairs, they have what? They have elongations of epidermal cells which helps to absorb water and minerals from the soil. And on the stem of the epidermal hairs are, that is, they are called as your trichomes. And the trichomes are what? In the shoot system, they are usually multicellular. That is, they have got many cells, and they may be branched or unbranched and soft or stiff. And they may even have secretory cells, and they prevent the water loss due to the transpiration. And the last one, that is last tissue for today, is your ground tissue system. Another tissue is there, that is vascular tissue system. We'll cover in the next class. So what is this? This tissue constitute, that is, they constitute the ground tissues, okay. And all the tissues except the epidermis and the vascular bundles constitute your ground tissues. So here all the tissues, only except your epidermal and the vascular bundles, all other tissues we call it as ground tissues, like your parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, all are your ground tissues. So it consists of, as you can see, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, these are all your ground tissues. So these parenchyma cells are usually present in the cortex, then pericycle, pith and medullary rays in the primary stems and roots. And in case of the leaves, the ground tissue consists of thin-walled chloroplast containing cells and is called mesophyll. So in the leaves, what is present? In the leaves, we will find this mesophyll. So mesophyll is basically present in case of the leaves. All right. So this is all about the various tissues, that is your epidermal tissue and the ground tissue. So in today's class we have covered what? We have covered the complex permanent tissues, and we have learned about the two tissue system, that is your epidermal tissue system and what? And the ground tissue system, right? So this is all about today's session. I hope you understood each and every topic what is discussed today. So to get all the benefits from Vista's learning, be connected with us, and I will meet you in my next class. We'll be learning about the vascular tissues and the anatomy of the roots. Okay, so be connected. Till then, take care and bye bye.